You ever get that strange feeling after you finish something, that odd emptiness of knowing that something you enjoyed is over? There have been various things throughout my life that have left me with this feeling. Literature, film, games. They create this insatiable urge for more. This urge pushes us to analyze it, discuss it, and show it to others. With that in mind, join me while I discuss how a children's cartoon left me in such a complicated state. Hello, I'm Jab, and please don't tell my dad about how I think Star vs. the Forces of Evil is pretty good. Put yourself in my shoes for a second. A trusted friend comes up to me and lets me know one of his favorite shows just ended. Not only that, he was watching it in secret the whole time. After much pressing, he confides in me that it's a cartoon called Star vs. the Forces of Evil. I had heard about Star vs. the Forces of Evil before. Years ago, the opening was released to tease its first season. I had been following a ton of artists at the time, and they shared it around and showed a ton of enthusiasm. After watching the opening myself, I didn't have much interest in it. I was glad to see more 2D cartoons being made, but the aesthetic they were going for just did not interest me. Although I did enjoy one particular bit of the opening. There's just something about it. Good stuff. Flash forward to current year and it all comes back to me. I thank my friend for the recommendation, give it a download, and
how's it taste?
We'll get to that. But first, I'd like to talk about why it's pretty good. One of the key things that kept me invested in the show early on is the fluffy atmosphere it has. Season 1 has this light tone to it that makes everything feel quite comfortable. There's just enough conflict to keep you interested in the episodes, and something that reinforces this comfortable state is the length of each episode. The majority of the episodes are a pack of 2, each only 11 minutes long. The brevity makes it very digestible. That 10 to 12 minute sweet spot lies just at the point of things being interesting, but just right before anything overstays its welcome. This allows the vast majority of the fantastical settings explored in the show to be given a good amount of depth, but be left with just the right amount of mystery. Many of the locations had me wanting more, wondering how the culture of each dimension differs.
You know you've done it right when you hear the next snap.
And luckily for me, most of the time, I got more. Eventually. One of the most interesting things about Star Vs. is the continuity. Most of the smaller episodes lie in a bubble, separate from the others, but each one is chained together by the overarching plot. It's not to say that each episode isn't relevant to one another. Some of the smallest aspects of some episodes are carried over between episode to episode. This means that the development of the more juicy bits of the story are slow, but it leaves time for speculation. The more important episodes are the full 22 minutes, which gives it the perfect amount of time to put in that good stuff. Whether it's a full 22-minute episode or a smaller 11-minute episode, both have plenty of hints and breadcrumb trails to follow to lead you to that sweet, sweet, deep lore. It got me curious and kept me guessing throughout the show, and this intrigue is another thing that kept me watching. By the end of the first season, I thought I had the show figured out. Then, when I finally got around to the first season's finale, I realized I was wrong. The end of the first season is where the show truly hooked me. Any previous expectations I had were destroyed, and I went straight into season 2, wide-eyed and ready for more. It just hits you with great episode after great episode after great episode after great episode after great episode. Characters develop, locations are expanded upon, relationships blossom, and there's more of that sweet, sweet, deep lore than ever before. Yeah! But I've avoided the elephant in the room for too long. It's time we talk about the shipping. You remember this line I said a few seconds ago? Relationships blossom? Yeah, in the second season specifically, relationships really start to pop up and go places. Here's the thing though, I'm not someone who ships characters. I generally don't understand it unless it's canonical within the show. Not to say romance itself is completely out of the question, I think it's handled very well at some points in the series. The problem arises when things go too far. Love triangles on top of love quadrangles and throwaway lines that might imply that there's something more between two characters that really serve no other purpose than to fuel the fires of these shipping wars.
Not only that, some of them actually conclude off-screen. Look at what you did to me. I'm actually physically angry about the relationship between fictional cartoon characters. Don't tell my dad!
It's no wonder that some in the community praise Fanworks for covering their relationships in a more thought-out manner. Even with the absolute clusterfuck of some of the romances mentioned, Star vs. is not without flaws. Earlier, I praised it for its continuity. Some of these flaws lie within that same continuity. Some things that are set up just don't get a conclusion. Majority of these things are minor, but some are major things that get dropped completely. Not to mention ending relationships off screen. Final season just feels rushed. What little plot contrivances there were before this season increased tenfold. Many of the conflicts that were starting to get simplified in season 3 are now black and white with little depth to them. Characters' thoughts and actions become inconsistent with previous seasons, and one character in particular is handled in such a flaky and confusing way brings up the question of why they bothered to include them at all. This inconsistency in the characters is another factor that hindered many of the relationships in the show. The animation in the final season is also another point of contention. Everything feels less animated. The bounciness of previous seasons just isn't there. Characters are less detailed, and the lighting takes a massive hit. Even the fight scenes are toned down. The animation is not something you'd find on like Sakugaboru, but it still has a major part in forming the tone of the episodes, and in season 4 it's just lacking. I wouldn't be surprised if they thought they had an extra season or a movie coming that didn't get greenlit, so they had to shove everything they could in the final season. That's not to say that the last season is irredeemable. Some of my favorite moments in the show happen in the final season, but it also has a majority of my least favorite moments. There's a reason that the community petition for a 5th season is at 100,000 signatures at the time of making this video. Beyond all the deep lore, shipping, and rainbows, the show is genuinely enjoyable. Its jokes land more than they flop, and some obviously being directed at older audiences.
Oh yeah? Well, your mother's a whore!
The music is catchy and fun to listen to. Not only that, they really know the perfect thing to play to put the atmosphere just where it needs to be. Specifically, the 2 endings just... Ooh, that's that good burger, my friend. May I have another? May I have a full version, please? May I have the entire... ending, please, Disney, please, may I please have the final ending, the full version of the final ending, please, Disney, I'm begging you, please. Again, the animation is just a joy to look at. A lot of people will try to point out the Cal Arts comparison, and normally I'd agree. I mean, one of the reasons I've put off watching this show so long is because I see images like this thrown around, but as I watched the show, I ended up being not bothered by it. The animation has definitely had some hardworking people behind it, and it shows. The show is just so bouncy and colorful and fun to watch. There were plenty of points in the show where I just couldn't take my eyes off it. It was just so pretty. To wrap things up, Star vs. the Forces of Evil is not perfect, but it's truly an enjoyable experience. Go watch it. I'd normally direct you to the official website, but Disney only has 2 episodes midway through the final season available for free. Alright, alright buddy, alright, slow down there. We don't want everybody hopping off of Netflix. I'm sure a Good Samaritan somewhere, maybe the comments section will link somewhere where you can download episodes in high quality. Otherwise, it's current year. You can find nearly anything in the world on the internet nowadays. You just gotta know where to look.
Wait, how could you possibly know that?
The internet.
Internet?
You should look it up. Now, come on, open up. Thank you.
You ever hear of the internet skeleton door?
That's about it. If you'd like to hear my thoughts on the show in more detail, let me know. I tried to avoid getting into any specifics in this video to avoid spoilers, but hey, maybe I'll make another. Maybe I'll even go into more depth about why I was so mad about the, shipping. Or not. Who knows? I'm Jab, and please don't tell my dad that I'm criticizing children's cartoons on the internet. Have a good one.